Hello, everybody. I'm Dean Takahashi, Editorial Director at GamesBeat. I happen to be here doing the big show with Brian Ward, who's the CEO of Savvy Games Group. Welcome, Brian.
Thanks for having me, Dean. Great to see you again.
Kind of want to get your take on the whole industry, the game industry right now. But over the past year, gaming has evolved quite dramatically in some ways, and not always in an encouraging direction. So how would you say the company's strategy has shifted in the past year in response to factors like, market consolidation, a lot of layoffs that have been happening, and then the rising production costs?
Yeah, good question. And there have been some improvements in the overall landscape, but still the last year has been, I think, just as tough as the previous two in some respects. So it hasn't really changed our strategy, though. Our strategy from the beginning, or our mandate anyway, from the beginning, was to build a great, hopefully largest games and esports company. And we have three pillars that we invest against, as you know, game development, publishing, esports, and helping build Saudi Arabia into a games and esports hub. And that hasn't changed in the last year. I would say part of the market conditions impact on us is that there are a lot of great people available. And Scopely has done very well since we've acquired the company, and they have been somewhat of a talent magnet in the last couple of years. And so, with more people available because of market conditions, a lot of great people have ended up at Scopely. So that's actually been to our benefit.
Yeah, they acquired Niantic as well.
And they acquired Niantic as well. And then we're continuing to look for great teams and opportunities to invest in great teams or acquire them and add them to our portfolio. And there are still great opportunities out there because people are still looking for long-term strategic capital partners.
Yeah. And what's your take on some of sort of the reasons for the challenges as well? Matthew Ball did his big slide deck again this year with a nice focused sort of part of it on the attention war, and how gaming faces more competition now from a lot of things that are sort of adjacent, but probably on the other side of the addiction line. I think the AI companions and OnlyFans and YouTube and TikTok and sports betting, prediction markets. These are industries that are growing fast and measurably so, and seem like they're growing faster than gaming right now. I wonder how you think gaming can sort of win that attention war.
That's a great question. Also, we've said for quite a while, our biggest competitors are not necessarily other publishers, but platforms like TikTok, and
that consume people's time.
Exactly. And, I think the other thing is that for decades, people in entertainment more generally have said content is king. And we think content is probably no longer king because it's ubiquitous, but community is king, at least for us. And when we look at the success that, say, Scopely has as an example with their games where, thanks to their prowess and their technology and engaging and retaining players and ending up with durable audiences that are not only engaged but highly monetizable over long periods of time, like years. And that's around the community aspect of gaming. So generally speaking, is gaming going to go away? No, people have been playing games since the dawn of human history and competing in games. So that's not going to go away, but people's attention is being diverted by some of these new forms of entertainment and engagement. But but the forms of entertainment and engagement that involve community and being where your friends are and where your tribe is, let's say, we think is still a growth area and an opportunity for long-term success.
Yeah. Well, I was at least encouraged that Matthew found 5 different areas of growth for games, and one of them is the growth of emerging markets, right? And
yes,
I think that for sure you guys seem to be betting that this is one of the things that you can focus on, I guess, as your pathway to growth. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the case that I think this is the case. You probably know better than me exactly, but that no Western games publisher has achieved much more than about a 25% revenue share out of, or a proportion of the revenue out of the Far East. I think Activision achieved that. And then conversely, but for different reasons, even Tencent hasn't done much better than that in the West due to regulatory constraints and so on. We'll be about 35% this year, but the market split, as you know, is 50-50. And so if we can get to a 50-50 split between East and West, and those are in mature markets, then I think we will have achieved part of our ambition. But emerging markets is the other growth area. Now, Scopely is amazing in mature Western markets, but we don't yet have a real strength in some of these emerging markets, Latin America, even our own market in MENA. 5 years from now, I think we'll be talking more and more about Sub-Saharan Africa as a viable market, and that is another area of opportunity.
AI seems to be part of every company's mandate now, and I would guess that that's true for Savvy as well. Like, do you see some directions for AI where it's becoming useful to the game industry or inside games as well? Yeah.
I don't think I've seen anything, and I'm not an expert in it, but I don't think I've seen anything that's particularly player facing yet. But in various aspects of development and production, we're certainly seeing big gains. Say in ideation to concept, massive savings in time in that area. Obviously, massive savings in QA and customer service. We also use it in esports and have for several years to in content moderation to reduce toxicity. We've got a pilot right now with Humane, which is the big PIF-supported AI company in Saudi Arabia, to use AI in revamping our back office functions. And I know the Scopely guys have many, many other use cases that they're trying out in development.
I see that it's maybe as controversial as any sort of brand new gimmick that has appeared in the game industry, as the reason that hypergrowth is going to happen, I guess. And there's some skepticism about AI now. And I do wonder whether you think it would be better to go fast or go slow, right? On AI, like is it something that possibly the audience doesn't like enough to maybe justify going fast, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's there are a lot of concerns being expressed around it being used in certain ways in development, and I think we have to be cognizant of what the audience wants and expects of us as game producers and developers, and how we deploy new technologies and the impact that has on our workforce and so forth. I don't think it's really a case of going fast or going slower. I don't think about it that way. I think, and I've seen, without naming any names, I've seen examples of people getting excited about AI, but it's not clear to me whether the fundamentals of game making are in place. And if you don't have the fundamentals in place, it doesn't matter what kind of tool set you're going to deploy against it. It may be out of sequence.
Yeah. Do you have a general approach as well as a CEO, like where, certain, sort of invested parties are going, you got to go fast. You got to jump right into this thing, or, let's take it easy and let's go slow, right? Like when you're faced with these sort of conflicting sort of sets of advice, I guess.
No, we haven't had any pressure or any suggestion that we should be deploying AI in any particular cadence. I've been pushing internally for this pilot project with Humane and how we can deploy it usefully in back office functions like HR and finance and whatnot. Because I just read about all the other companies and across all industries trying to do the same thing. I was recently in Davos and that was a big topic of discussion that I was interested in attending some of those sessions there, and many companies are experimenting, but not much more than 5% have actually found like really meaningful ways yet. But it feels to me like it's something so potentially transformational that if we don't at least start to pay attention to it and try and figure it out, we'll be behind the curve eventually. So it's not a case of, it's not a fear of missing out. It's just like, we don't want to be behind.
Yeah.
And obviously we're always looking for ways to be more efficient with the shareholders' capital.
What's the hardest thing about being a CEO now?
Travel.
Yeah. Starlink, right?
It's I don't really have one thing that stands out for me. I think it's there's always enormous challenges in scaling and managing workforce and making sure that people are satisfied and have the right tools and opportunities to do their job in the best way. I think that's probably the thing that I fear the most is stuff that affects talent and retention. Not so much from people leaving and going somewhere else, but people being satisfied in their work and having the opportunity to do their best work or feeling like they're in a place that is allowing them to do their best work. And I think that's something that, as basically a startup or a company that's only less than 5 years old, we've still got a long ways to go in making the work experience, something that people would reflect on and say, "Oh, that was the best experience of my career." I know the guys at Scopely focus on that, and I think they're a much more mature company than the Savvy parent because they've been around 13 years or so, and they have a real culture around the sorts of things that would lead people to believe that they're in the best place that they've ever worked. And I think we've still got a long ways to go. And that's something that I think about probably more than anything else, including the travel.
Yeah. What gives you the most optimism about the future of gaming?
Wow. I think some of the things that we've touched on, the emerging markets opportunities and parts of the world that have been relatively, untouched by our industry, the opportunity in our own market for storytelling and producing content that's more culturally relevant to the region. We've talked about this before. I think how great the Chinese and other Eastern cultures have been about telling their own history and lore through our medium. There's thousands of years of human history in the Middle East, but none of those stories have been told by other than Disney, probably, Aladdin and Alibaba and the 40 Thieves and so on. But there's lots of opportunity for telling great stories in our medium in that region. And just the overall realization that, people have played games since the dawn of time, and they're going to continue playing games. That's how people learn. That's how kids learn rules and socialization and sportsmanship and this type of thing. The form factors have changed massively, obviously, and will continue to evolve as probably the business models will evolve also. But people will still be playing games 20 years from now, 100%.
Yeah. It's interesting how so much culture also can get told through the popularity of different kinds of entertainment, in Chinese, those Disney movies like Mulan did so well, and in Japan, anime, and now K-pop as well. And so it seems like the chance to express culture through gaming and other entertainment is really strong.
I think it's really interesting. So many people have said, even some of the people I work with or work for, how much they've learned about Eastern culture from playing games and learning the ancient stories upon which that particular game was based, and the locations and the battles and the generals and this kind of thing.
When you look back to the earliest days of Savvy too, and the original plans, do you see it as having changed a lot based on dynamics of the successful acquisitions? I think nobody really knew how successful Scopely was going to be just after the acquisition, and how are these sort of changes in plans a good thing?
So we've been very fortunate, but it's not all down to luck. Obviously, a lot of people worked very hard to bring some of these to recognize these opportunities and bring them to life. And then, of course, the people that we've been fortunate to partner with, like Scopely, have done an amazing job. So it's been good for us in the sense that it's enabled us to attract new opportunity, attract talent, as I mentioned earlier, and also to surface new opportunities. I think one of the unique selling propositions for Savvy is being privately owned. We're a good source of long-term strategic capital in a way that's different than other sources of capital from private equity, VC, or listed entities or whatever. And for those teams who are looking to continue in their journey and build a legacy business over 10, 20 years, and not looking to retire or sell out or whatever. We positioned ourselves at the beginning as a good source of strategic capital for that purpose, and I think we still are. And I think we've been able to prove that not only can we get things done and get deals done, but that the promises that we made about keeping business units as independent and autonomous as possible and allowing them to do their work as independently as we can as a shareholder, hopefully is holding true, and people realizing that we're trying to do what we said we were going to do.
Yeah. I guess the interesting thing about having very successful business units is that the shareholder of whoever that is always expects to have bigger and bigger returns or growth, I guess. And so, like, when you have something large, then you need large deals to happen in order to keep that growth going sometimes, right? So I wonder if you've been in some ways steered by that success into bigger and bigger things. Do you still have interest in small investments, like, helping the smallest of startups get off the ground on the bet that maybe they're the ones that are going to come up with the next big monopoly go?
Yeah, that's a great question, because there's so many success stories coming out of indie titles on Steam and whatnot. And it's a really interesting segment of the market. That's not our segment of the market. Never has been. Even when we just started out, we were looking to do things a little more substantial. Not because the shareholder was pushing; they weren't, but because it was my belief that if we could find the right opportunities within the limits of the capital that was being provided at the time, that it was going to be better to do one or two substantial things than a half a dozen smaller things. And frankly, we weren't set up to manage a bunch of smaller things. We didn't have the capacity. I don't even know if we have the capacity today to do that. The smaller transactions are still of interest and are still being pursued. Scopely does. They look at hundreds of things a year, and they look at things of all sizes, right from acqui-hires all the way up to things that require our approval and our capital. But on the Savvy parent side, I think we're still sort of big game hunters, if you like, looking for opportunities that will move the needle.
Yeah. But the PIF is even, say, more ambitious now. It's part of the pending $55 billion acquisition of EA, and it's part of the very, very large Paramount deal as well. So you have in some ways, I don't know, new sister investors alongside you, I guess, as well. And I wonder, like, how do you get to something like a coordinated strategy across perhaps all of that, but also just across all of Savvy right now?
Yeah. So on the Savvy side, we've simplified how we looked at things from the beginning, where we had 5 subsidiary companies underneath the parent. We've trimmed that down into, game development, publishing, esports, and ecosystem building, and hoping to add assets to each one of. It's not really a case of adding assets on the KSA side, and in esports, I think we've made. The big investments have already been made, but on the game side, I think there's still lots of opportunity for us over a period of time. We're not in any rush or hurry in that respect. And on the overall games ambition side for Saudi Arabia, you know, it was the case from the very beginning that we were meant to be the tip of the spear for all of Saudi's investments in games and esports. I think that's still the case. PIF is obviously making this big investment in Electronic Arts, which is very exciting. That'll sit as a separate entity inside the PIF for until they decide otherwise. You can imagine there could be synergies for us all to work together at some point and across a number of different vectors, but I think that's a little ways off.
Yeah. Very good. Any other things you'd like to mention?
The Middle East is fine in terms of visiting. Please come to the World Cup. Please come to the conference at the end of the World Cup. Please come to the Nations Cup. Please come to the F1 next month.
Tell us a bit about the Esports Nations Cup too.
So I don't actually, I should know this, Dean, but I don't know how many titles have been announced for it yet. But
I think it was with 16 rings a bell or something like that.
Could be. That could be. But we're very excited about it because we're operating it for the foundation. And I think it's really interesting. I mean, the World Cup is fantastic, but to have also this patriotic element of it being nation-based, kind of like the Olympics, is super exciting. And I think that'll add a completely new dimension to esports competition. So
it's coming in November this year too. Right?
Yeah, November. Exactly, yeah. World Cup in August, July and August, yeah.
No, awesome.
Yeah.
I got to start training.
Team USA?
Arc Raiders, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.